Hello, hello, it's me, Emily Braun, and today, as promised, I have pleasure speaking with Jennifer Phillips April.
Hello.
Jennifer is Hello, Jennifer. It's B2B copywriter, ghostwriter, content strategist, which connect, help, sell, thrive, build your brand. She's top 5% in SEO according to LinkedIn, and she enjoying writing for B2B tech, hospitality tech, AI, and hospitality marketing. Again, happy to see you, Jennifer, at my live stream.
Thank you for
Hello.
having me, Emily. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I can tell a little bit that we know with Jen a little bit each other for more than a year already, mostly online. Even apparently we have a place in the same city, Playa del Carmen in Mexico, which is very dear to my heart. But I'm very curious to hear Jennifer's story because Jennifer spent in Playa, as locals say, in Playa and Mexico, actually more time than me, being kind of rooted in Riviera Maya and this particular city that I really like. So please start a little bit with your personal story in short,
Sure.
and together, like your why you relocated to Mexico.
Of course. So my boyfriend and I were living in Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia suburbs, and his youngest child said was graduating from high school, and she says, "I have an athletic scholarship 3 states away. So see you later. It's year round. You won't be seeing me much of me." Well, we had been talking about moving someplace warmer after she finished college, high school, and so I said, "Seems like this is the time. Where are we going?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know." And I mean, we've both been living in that area for 15 years, so lots of furniture, shall we say, and personal things, right? So after a few days of talking about it and watching some YouTube videos, looking at maps, I said, "How about Playa del Carmen?" And I'd been here once on vacation, but it hit all the points. We wanted walkable, we wanted a cosmopolitan city, we wanted to be by the beach, and we wanted to be affordable. And it hit all those moments. And obviously, it needed to have stable internet, infrastructure, because we both still work. So well, when you look at that, it all hit the mark. So we packed up all of our things, sold, donated most of our goods, and 6 months later, we moved to Playa with 6 suitcases and a cat.
Okay, so your intention was just to spend time here or to really live and travel in Mexico?
Well, we didn't know
What?
what we wanted or what we were going to do. We just knew we wanted to leave where we were, and this looked like a good option. And so at the time, we were thinking about digital nomading, but honestly, we are not young anymore, and we have other responsibilities,
Only in heart,
only in
by
heart.
heart.
And we had this cat who didn't like, who was really unhappy about being, moved to a new country. Initially, he adjusted, but so then we got here, and we just really, our eyes were open. It was like getting adjusted to a new country, a new city, and that took a lot out of us. And it was a lot to adjust to in the first few months. And now we have built a life here, and we have lots of friends, and we really love living in Playa. So we don't see any reason to go anywhere. We've traveled around Mexico. We've gone to other parts of the country for a few weeks at a time, and we keep coming back. But the Playa's our home right now. I mean, maybe they'll change in five
Ex
years, but who knows?
No, but it's excellent, and it's how it's usually happened. Like people start from exploration
Yep.
stage, and they love this place. It's a lot of stories from Playa. I've heard like, oh, I came, or 20 years ago, 10 years ago, it was fishing village, or it was digital nomad hub, and I so like it that I decided to stay there. So for how long you are in Playa as of now?
6 years next month.
Okay, great,
Oh, well,
great.
6 years this month.
So yeah, so I understand that you represent kind of the category of professional remote worker. And many times people are asking, or people who are looking for this kind of lifestyle, asking me, and I would ask you to describe your standard work day and lifestyle in Playa del Carmen.
Sure. Well, I've been self-employed for over a decade. So my lifestyle or my standard workday hasn't changed dramatically since moving here. I typically get up in the morning, I do a little yoga, I have some coffee, I start working, right? And I usually my core working hours are usually between like 10 and 4, maybe 5. Depends on my mind because I'm a writer mostly, and you only have so many thinking hours in the day. So, and some days are better than others. Like I try to go with energy as much as possible because some days it's harder than others.
You need inspiration. Sometimes you
Well,
need inspiration.
there's inspiration, but there's also just sometimes your brain just feels fried because you've been thinking too much, right? So then you have to take a break. But fortunately, I live 3 blocks from the Caribbean Sea, so sometimes I can take a break in the middle of the day and just go and have a swim for an hour or so, and that is really nice. I mean, that's like one of the reasons we live here, right? We don't do it often enough because we're our own worst enemies, but but that's really nice. And like tomorrow night, we're going to have dinner with friends at a restaurant. Um, let's see. I mean, we did that. We had this amazing weekend last weekend, which was nothing really planned, but we went out to this new place that just opened. Some friends came by that we didn't know were coming by, but because you're in a walkable area and you run into the same people in your neighborhood, so it's a very friendly vibe here. We have other friends we're seeing on Saturday. I mean, it's just the season is starting. We're in October, so you have right now you have a mix of like the year-rounder people who we are, and then you have the people who come in because Playa is very popular with the snowbirds, as you know, and so the Canadians and the northern U.S. people will all be arriving here in the next mostly 2 months for the season as they call it, and we'll be going into high season by December.
Yeah, it's all, I think, pretty standard. Even it's non-standard. Like you actually free to do as you feel, like based on the, temperature outside, your own feeling. But you should be very organized to have work done
Oh
as a
yes.
remote work
Oh
professional.
yes. I
Yes.
mean, you still have to work. I mean, I'm not on vacation. People think
Yeah.
that. A lot of people think that just because we live here, like we're on vacation every day. And no, we're working. Our lifestyles,
Yeah. Yeah. Like
just in a
the
different
picture
place.
of, sitting on a with a laptop. It was, I think it's a little bit overpriced, I would say, and over like the real life. But what is the beauty of these places, and in particular Playa del Carmen, both worlds kind of at the same time, and manage your time based on how you feel.
Yep.
And next question, what you found special for you personally and your partner living in this city? For example, climate, people, nature, because there are many other wonderful cities in Mexico and you visited others. But as you mentioned before, you feel that your home is now in Playa.
Well, what keeps us coming back is two things: the people and the ocean. And you know, when we want to get out of here in August when it's super hot, but we can go up to the mountains or and that's really great and it's nice to have a break. But we don't have a community there, and we have a community here. So I'm always going, I can't wait to get home to Playa. I can't wait to get home to Playa. So it's being able to go down to the ocean, really anything you want, lots of things that you would want to do happen here. I mean, if you want to yoga or sound healing or salsa dancing, I mean, all of that is here like every day of the week, and it's not hard to get to or anything. And the people here are just so interesting. People who come to Playa and who live here, people who come here long term, are a different kind of crowd. They're not really looking for the status quo. They're looking for something different. They've often had very interesting, experiences in life. So yeah, it's and I mean that's because Playa is such a young city. It doesn't even have like a long, like Mexican population. I mean, the Mexicans here come from other parts of the country. I mean, it's just this brand new place they've built out of, concrete in the jungle, basically.
So when you speak about community, you mean expat community, or you're also interacting with Mexicans, with local? I just don't know about your kind of Spanish proficiency, but please explain this dynamic.
Well, the Mexicans that we know and are close with have better English skills because our Spanish skills are not so good. Our community also includes many people from South America and Europe, as well as Canada and the US. I mean, there are lots of expats here from all over the world. And we know people, I mean, we were having drinks randomly last week, over the weekend, this new place, with a guy from India, a woman from Argentina, and then these two friends of ours who were just walking by. And then the new place that opened is run by a Russian who 6 months ago didn't know about Playa del Carmen, and now he's opened a restaurant. So, it's just, and that's a typical kind of Playa experience, I think, is just that people come from all over the world here.
I think you kind of just targeted the main point, a differentiator between Playa, I would say, in different places, expat like hubs in Mexico, which also have international crowd.
Mm-hmm.
But Playa is really attract for the long living time professionals from different countries, from different cultures, and they are more entrepreneurial style, I would say, type, rather than just kind of beach goer like investors, which are like they might be in the same time investors,
Mm-hmm.
but in my perception, when I'm traveling over the Mexico, I always coming at the end to Playa, and I feel different vibe. Really, more young people, always something happening, like events here and there. And I mean, not only local activities like, Zumba, yoga, dance. Riviera Maya is full of this
Mm-hmm.
kind of retreats, but even international type of events started to come, and not only to Cancun, which is kind of biggest city in the area, but in a playa. But it's specific events like digital nomad forums,
Oh,
like
yeah.
crypto related event, like really this specific niche, even in digital nomad world, that make this city outstanding, I would say, and very interesting for many.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, if you can kind of delve deeper on your personal experience, interaction with people representing different expat groups, and different, I mean, we mentioned already like remote workers, expats, but there's also retirees.
Mm-hmm.
There is a very active professional retirees, like running some consulting businesses or
Mm-hmm.
other types. And there are some who just enjoying the life. And I believe with your communication skills, you surrounded by many people of these different groups. Please share with us.
Yes. When we first moved here, we went to a lot of digital nomad meetups because it was easy for us to do that. They were always well publicized. We met this guy who runs an outfit called Mexpats, which is, he's from Mexico City, and he runs sometimes a weekly meetup. But it's, Mexpats for Mexicans and people from international people. And so they do just different events, usually on, I mean, quiz night or, dancing or something. It could be, all kinds of different things, or art galleries, brothers and artists. And so but also a lot of digital nomads were much younger than us because, we're past 50. So we didn't, we kind of, we fell out of going to those, especially since COVID. And those things have started up again, but we really have found a whole new, and I find that the more you stay here, the longer you stay here, you kind of go deeper and deeper and deeper. And like, your relationships with people, you meet new people. This is a very transient town. People are always coming and going. Even if they have a house here, they might not be here but 3 or 4 months a year because they're always somewhere else. There's a lot of those kinds of people as well. And so we know a fair mix of retirees. We know a handful of digital nomads that I would classify as that, who are part of our social circle. But mostly now it's mostly professional people who are either working here remotely or retired people. that we're seeing the most of, or they're entrepreneurials. They've run a restaurant. They've opened up some kind of a business either here or some they do remote work.
And what I like about Playa and actually about Mexico in general, it's actually pretty easy to start conversation and to make kind of new, yes, friendship or like I'm this type that I like this. I know that
Oh
some
yeah.
people feel maybe disturbed like North Americans. For me, it's kind of I'm swimming in my water. Obviously, depends on the situation, and I met a lot of wonderful, interesting people, as you mentioned in Playa, just in couple of days. I remember actually why I decided to kind of to stay more in Playa, because when I arrived first time, and my Mexican partner told me that like I started conversation and I'm not speaking Spanish like you, only with English speaking people, like on the street or in the office. He represented me. He told me, "Okay, in 5 days, you know more people that I'm here living for 2 years." Because but people are reflecting. I mean, Mexican people and local people. I feel people became relaxed. Even people from different cultures, they kind of became different in this vibe. Obviously, different personalities, but people kind of opening more, and it's attractive for me. Yeah.
Oh yes, it's easy to meet people here. I mean, if you can't, and I mean, my partner Rick is the kind of guy who talks to everybody. You know, if you'll listen, he'll talk to you. You stand in line at the grocery store. He just talks to everybody. So it's like we meet a lot of people, and most people are super friendly because this is vacation land. So when they come here, they're happy, they're relaxed. They're like, people aren't in a hurry to get to their next meeting. That's we're not a big city, so this is people are relaxed and happy. And yes, they're much more likely to chat with you.
But city is growing, by the way, and
I
it's
know.
it's building like in every directions, and a lot of Mexicans from different states coming to Playa,
Hmm.
and they have their kind of communities. I mean, living communities, and a lot of investors. I still
Hmm.
believe coming to Riviera Maya and Playa is the center, and with a train which should be launched like speed train, the first in Latin America. Is it
Hmm.
already coming? It's close.
I, I have no idea what the status is of the train. I hear things different, all kinds of things about it here and there. But when it opens, it opens. I
No,
don't
no,
know
but
how
I mean,
close
it
they
will
are.
be even more people coming because
Oh
it will be
yeah.
direct connection. Even now, it's no problem to arrive from airport and
Oh no, it's easy.
a good bus transportation. But I'm a little bit afraid it will be too crowded with the second airport and this train coming through the peninsula, Yucatan
Well,
Peninsula.
there's already a lot of traffic. I mean, and this is one of
Mhm.
the beauties of living where we live in the middle of town because we don't own a car and we hardly ever even need to get in a car. But once in a while, when I am in a car and I'm on the highway, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much traffic. So, but that's true everywhere. I mean, the world over is full of traffic jams these days. There are a lot of people in the world. And I
Yes.
think in Playa, we've added at least 100,000 in the 6 years we've been here.
I think in the high season it's even more. And
Oh no, we're no added. I mean, no, we're
yes,
at like 350 now, like
yeah,
350,000.
it's a kind of good middle-sized city of United States of Canada
Mm-hmm.
by size.
Right.
And again, we already touched this topic: relationship with local people, adaptation to the new culture, like Spanish proficiency. How you feel in Playa after 6 years living, taking in account like Spanish and actually cultural differences. Do you
Yes.
feel
Well.
something?
Well, I
Did you
don't.
have issues at the beginning? That is my
Oh,
question.
yes. It was confusing. I mean, and let me tell you, the first place we lived here was on the third floor of this apartment building near the mega grocery store, which is a big grocery store in the middle of
Hmm.
town. And we're wide-eyed. We don't know anything. We just gotten out of the van from the airport. We're unloading our suitcases. And the guy who rented us the apartment meets us. He's actually, there's a woman who rented this young couple are with us. So they take us upstairs. They show us how to use all the keys. They were standing on the terrace. He points to the big orange building and says, "That's the Mega. That's the grocery store." And I'm like, "Great, that's useful." And I'm like, "How do we get water?" He goes, "Oh, you listen for the bell. And when you hear the bell, you go, 'Hola, agua,' and you run downstairs and you go, 'Agua.'" And I was like, and I laughed because I thought he was joking. And he was
No, it was not joke. I've heard this aqua on the street.
And I'm going, okay, the logistics of going down 3 flights of stairs behind 3 sets of locked doors to get out on the street before the truck is passed is not really very likely. So then it was my mission to get someone's WhatsApp number. Also, we knew nothing about WhatsApp because we come from a culture in the US that no one uses WhatsApp. And in here, you can't function without it. So a week or so later, we're down the street and we're eating quesadillas at this little place in the corner. And someone pulls up in a little car. I don't remember what kind of car, but like a little small car. And this guy gets out of the back and he brings out 2 big garrafons of water into the restaurant and hands them a bill. And Rick says, "That's the water delivery." And I'm like, "Oh, we're getting water." So I go, my Spanish was, my Spanish is still bad, but it was then, I'm in town like 10 days. And so I make it understood that we lived up the street and could we get water from her too? And she's like, "Yes." So I wrote down the address and my number and, she said an hour. And then so an hour or so later, they came and brought us water. And now we're good. Now we had our water service on call. We could call
I
them.
would like to explain to our followers and listeners that actually there is water in Mexico in Playa del Carmen. There is water that you can take showers
Oh,
and do your
yes.
dishes, whatever you need. But there is recommendation to drink bottled water in Mexico in specific areas and Riviera Maya in particular. That's why for drinking, you need to order kind of drinking water, and it's coming in the big industrial size bottles, I would say, that
Yep.
really you need to order somebody to bring you on a third floor. So don't think that Mexico is desert without water, but to know the
Oh, yeah.
local specific and services, it's very important at the beginning.
Yes. But now, because we've been here for so long and, technology changes, now there's reverse osmosis. So I
Mhm.
think we're getting that very soon. We know more and more people who have gotten the reverse osmosis systems put in. I don't even really, it's just like bringing in some kind of little system and it basically filters the water for you. And then you can drink your tap water. There's a
You see,
problem here is that the water is full of minerals, and so if you drink it here in the Riviera Maya, that can lead to more kidney stones because the ground is limestone.
so osmosis can help with filtering
Yep,
this.
yep.
Okay, so
Apparently,
it's a double benefit.
mhm.
And there are some other stories and interaction. I know usually at the beginning there is a lot of kind of laughable stories at the beginning of new life when we are not familiar and we making sometimes childish mistakes with language or because of lack of knowledge. What you
Oh,
can tell.
sure. No, my language skills are terrible. I speak like a 2-year-old, but I mean, I can speak now. I can actually string together sentences, and sometimes they're even correct, I think, like conjugating the verbs and everything. Whether or not I'm understood well is a whole other matter because then there's pronunciation aspect of it. But I can speak, I can have a conversation on the phone most of the time. So yeah, it's coming along, poco y poco, as they say. Uh, and if we were just in Guadalajara last month, and if I were to go to Guadalajara for like several weeks, maybe we will next summer, I am certain my language proficiency would skyrocket because I know a lot of words. Like I do my Duolingo every day. I've taken Spanish lessons. I know a lot of vocabulary. I can read all the signs on the street. I can read advertisements. I'm reasonably proficient with reading things like a cereal box. So it's but then taking that and actually using the language skills is a whole nother matter, right? And here in Playa, so many people speak English that it's really hard to practice your Spanish in the part of town where we are. I mean, I could also go out of town, different part of town, and improve my
So
Spanish.
you are telling me and our listeners that there's enough in downtown of Playa del Carmen for service providers, like to communication with service providers, because we need a lot of services, at least set up at the beginning. They
Hmm.
all speaking decent English, so you can communicate without issues.
Not all, but for example, like we just got a new internet service. There's a
Mm-hmm.
guy that will go with you to the internet provider that we know through, the standard networking. We met this guy. He actually went to high. He's Mexican, but he went to high school in the U.S. for a few years, for some reason. And he'll go with you for like $10 or $15. You can hire him for an hour, and he'll go with you to the place. So we went with Rick to the Telmex office to make sure that we were getting everything we needed with the service for the internet service.
So actually, it's translation, like professional translation,
Sometimes you
and
need that, yes. But
yes.
doctors, no, no, we haven't had any issue with that. Almost all the doctors speak really amazing English. All the
It's my
doctors.
next question. It's my
Oh.
next question.
All right, we'll pause on that.
Okay, but all what you described, it's like understandable hardship, I would say, even not issues. So even when people are relocating from state to state, place to place in one country,
Yeah.
there is some locals specific you cannot know before you coming, and you learn it at least first 6 months, year, and after then you kind of swimming in this
Yes.
water. Correct? Like you feel
Yes. After
relaxed.
talking to a number of people over the years and reading a whole bunch of digital nomad forums, I feel like it takes roughly 6 months to 2 years before you feel really comfortable in a new place. Like that, gets your lay of the land. You've built up some relationships. You have some people you can call on. Yeah, but differs for everyone, of course. But 6 months, 2 years seems about right.
And it's interesting because it's pretty small city comparing with Guadalajara, as you mentioned. Did you found that people less speaking
Hmm.
English in Guadalajara? I understand you were as a
Right.
tourist. It's kind of different perspective, but what you would say comparing these two different type of cities?
Well, Guadalajara is much more of a city, and I mean it's
Yeah.
very very well organized, and the like wait staff, yes, spoke English. When we stayed in a hotel where like the front desk people didn't speak English. The bellman spoke perfect English. I mean, he got in the elevator, taking our things upstairs, and he starts giving us a history of the hotel. So I think it's just kind of hit and miss there. But it's definitely probably an opportunity to practice more Spanish, just because it's not. I mean, they have a large, English speaking population there, but we didn't run into any of them in like the week we were there. We just didn't run into Canadians and Americans or Europeans on the street. It was all Mexican.
Because you need to know places, and actually, I mean, where expats are living, and your itinerary was
Right.
different. You wanted to learn more about history, city, and yes, Guadalajara is a big city, which I visited a couple of times, but I feel that I need to spend more time to understand this city better. And again, like uh, vibe and environment of small city like Playa del Carmen versus million city like Guadalajara. It's a different.
It's different.
And yes, I'm trying to check if we have a questions. I hope people are listening to us. Maybe there is so much information that they even don't have time to hear about questions, and maybe we need to speak slowly because sometimes I know I'm speaking too quick. Uh, and now I'm interested really about your personal experience with Mexican medical system. And I can tell for our followers that there's a in Mexico public
Hmm.
system and private
Hmm.
system. And the question about safety, which is the first one which usually people asking when they hear about Mexico or they considering relocation, or when I'm speaking about Mexico, the first what they asking me, how safe did I feel? But I want to hear your impressions and your stories. And yes, again, about local services and mentality, you already touched this base, but medical system and safety, it's very important for everyone who
Yes, of
relocating.
course. Safety wise, I feel very safe here. We don't have random shootings like we're known for having in the US. Uh, so that's a big thing. I mean, I'm actually have anxiety when I go into public places in the US now, like, supermarkets and whatever, because there's just so much chaos and, you know, um, it just unnerves me. So I don't have that feeling here.
But it was shooting. I remember it was one shooting in Playa over the last 3 years in Tulum area as well, and it was all in newspapers for
Oh, I know.
months. I don't know how you feel during this time. It remind you US
Well, no,
or it's
because it's all
different?
it's always drug on drug. It's not like in the U.S. It's just like someone coming into a school and shooting up innocent people or bank or
Yes.
whatever, right? And here it's not that. You don't get that. You have it's targeted. So it's a targeted shooting, and I mean, not saying that that's okay or whatever, but I mean, there
Yeah.
are gradations of um, of violence in the world, and that, and we just can't control that, and so some of it makes you feel a little more confident than others. So I guess that's what I'm saying, is that being here, I don't feel like I'm likely to be you know I'm not likely to be a target of that. I'm not i'm not involved in the drug trade, so therefore.
What about nightlife? And I
Yep.
don't mean, heavy night going out, but like restaurants, how you feel, walking in a city and
Fine.
you walking,
Fine.
probably sometimes late.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, these days, lately, it seems like we're home early, but yeah, I feel fine. And if I'm out by myself, I mean, which is rare anymore because don't seem to go anywhere these days lately on my own. But if I am, I just, if someone can't walk with me or I can't take a taxi, there's usually always a taxi. Then I text. I know where I am, I know my surroundings, and I'll text Rick and let him know, okay, I'm leaving now, so he can gauge when to expect me, or he might come out and meet me on the street or whatever. It's just like it's the same. You would take care of yourself anywhere. You've got to be aware of your surroundings. You just got to be. You don't know that, but that doesn't matter where you are.
So you feel safer than in United States because I heard this response very often from
Mhm.
Americans coming from particular places, maybe not
Yeah, and I think
from.
it depends on where you live in Mexico. Obviously, I mean, there are parts of this country that are not safe. I mean, they're very well known. It's easy to find out where they are. That they are,
Yeah.
strongholds of drug trade right now, and those are not places you want to be. But that's not where we're talking about. We're talking about an up and coming tourist location that is, filled with people of all different backgrounds, and is quite vibrant. So yeah.
And presence of the gun police, I know it disturbs sometimes people. I feel okay when I see police with guns. Maybe it's me because I lived in Middle East, so I didn't mind. Like I used to see people with a gun around, but I believe it's what government trying to ensure safety
Oh
for
yeah.
the tourists and locals
Oh,
alike.
absolutely. I mean, and
Yes.
periodically there's a whole infiltration of like the Marines, and so it'll be the Marines and the police all together, and they look intimidating. I mean, so when they really put on their gear, because they'll be in Kevlar and they have those machine guns, and sometimes they covered their faces with like bandanas or something. I mean, it's kind of like what, but I mean, off it's because they're in the sun. They're trying to protect their skin from because they got hoods and stuff. I mean, like they must be 9,000 degrees in there. I don't know how they survive in those uniforms, but yes, it's a little off-putting when you first see it because you're not used to it. But like everything else, you get accustomed to it over time. And now I don't think
Absolutely.
twice. I'm like, oh, so there's 20, Marines walking because they will show up in mass pretty soon, probably because the season's coming. So they want to make sure that the streets are clean and that's safe for people. Because if they come and sort of just show their might, then like sends the bad people away.
Do you have you heard about illegal refugees coming like in this area? like usually it's not the route for the illegal refugees. They're going like north to Texas. But I've seen last time when I've seen some kind of tent camps. Like
I don't
what's
know. You
going
mean like
on?
the Guatemalans and El Salvadorians headed to the U.S.?
Probably I didn't ask, but I've seen obviously there were kind of tents for refugees, and actually these police, these people around, probably were trying just to organize them, as far as I understood, like to be in the tents and not to be on a
Oh,
city. But telling the truth, we have some tents now, not some, growing amount of tents in Toronto on a
hmm,
street, and it might be our local
right, right,
impoverished,
right. I
Canadian
understand there's
or people.
there's a group of people living in tents not too far away, but I don't actually know who they are or where they came from. So I don't know.
Okay,
I live
okay.
in a
And
total
now,
bubble. I mean, I will admit it. I heard, I work from home. I'm on, I'm online all day with people like you. I don't, I go out, I go about my business, and I don't. Well, I think they don't know.
no, but what is important, you feel
Yes,
safe. We started from safety, and now it's kind of segue to Mexican medical
yes,
system. I hope you've had
yes.
experience. What you can tell
Well,
about?
the Mexican medical system saved my partner's life 2 years ago. His
Mm-hmm.
heart was stopping, and we didn't.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I just noticed over several months that he was acting tired, and he's taking more naps, and he was having a hard time coming up the stairs. And I was like, "You're not yourself, and what's going on?" And finally, I got him to the doctor. He was, oh yeah, I'll do that. But I finally went to the doctor, and he had some, and the woman wanted to send him to a neurosurgeon. She thought it was maybe something mental. And fortunately, actually, there's a woman who is a nurse who is Mexican and Canadian. She splits her time, and he had been in contact. His blood work came back, and she looked at it. She said, "No, you need to go see the cardiologist. Give me 5 minutes." And so she messaged the cardiologist and got him an appointment for the same day. And so we went over there, and the cardiologist gives him a, what is it, the EKG when you lie down. Anyway, do the sensors. He says, "Oh, I know
Mm-hmm.
exactly what's wrong with you." And he helped him up very gently, because I went with him to the appointment. And he sits there. The guy opens the his drawer. He pulls out a pacemaker. He says, "This is a pacemaker. Do you know what a pacemaker is?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what it does?" And then he pulls
Yeah.
out a piece of paper. He drew the whole pacemaker and how it works with the heart. He explained how the whole process is, and he was very detailed. And he's like, you need a pacemaker, and you need it right now. I mean, but he was trying to be not panic, how a doctor is, but you could tell the guy was concerned. And so it was like, okay. And then we're like, all right, well, how do we do this? He says, well, and we went to see someone who was here in Playa. He says, well, I work out of Cancun, and he works out of a private hospital. You mentioned earlier the private versus public. So he has a private hospital called Galena in Cancun. He works out of with his team, and he was ready to schedule the surgery right away. So we went on Friday for the surgery. Now you have to pay right then. We had to give him a credit card, so for deposit, and then you pay the surgeon and his team separately from the hospital. So they're like two separate fees. Like they run it through their own. I mean, I guess he's like a contractor basically. Um, so, but we had excellent service. We were the nicest hospital. We were overnight there. They even sent in an interpreter. I mean, like a translator guy, even though we didn't need it, like because the person who met at the front desk spoke to him, spoke to him and says, "Oh, can you sit down? I have printed out the papers for you in English and Spanish. Which do you prefer?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I'll help you." And the Rick didn't even have his reading glasses on, so he couldn't read. He's just like, the guy's like, "I'll help you." And so his English was perfect. We get into the room, they get us settled. And then they send in a guy. He says, "I'm whatever his name was. Here's my WhatsApp number. If you need anything, I'm right down the hall." And his whole purpose in life there was to be a translator. And I just thought that is amazing.
So it's kind of part of the team. And I will resume whatever I've heard. Like again, for people, like the first care was applied in Applied Del Carmen, and it was private care because yes,
Hmm.
I understand it was you had some contact for private care, and they quickly diagnosed what is the
Hmm.
problem, and found cardiologist, which made the required test, and found assigned the date for the
Hmm.
surgery, and it was all kind of organized with translator, his own staff probably, because that's why he was
Right.
here, just in case, because many people need it. And there is a separate team of caregivers, which is very important, because doctor, he does his job, but it's very important, after surgery care. And I don't know how long he was in the hospital, like
Yeah.
day or two
So and we went
after.
in like 9 o'clock in the morning. I think he was in surgery by 11. He was out by like 2, maybe less. His surgery was only a couple of hours, and yeah, we were out the next morning. They kept him overnight.
But after surgery, kind of some maintenance, I don't know,
Oh yeah.
checkup, like you were going back to doctors in
Oh yes.
Playa,
So he went
kind
back
of.
to that doctor like a week later for the checkup. He goes back for like I think he just was it Christmas he was there, which would have been so yeah, every 6 months or so he goes back to that doctor, and then we have a general practitioner here, and there's lots of great medical care here.
But he didn't have any heart condition before, like prior to it. So, as far as I understand, you didn't have
Correct.
insurance, medical insurance plan
Correct.
up front. It was all kind of out of your pocket. And first of all, I'm interested why you didn't think about health insurance, uh, because there are different
Of course.
opinions in this regard. And what was the price, if it's not secret, for the medical procedures, because it's a
It's a
bigger
big
one.
medical procedure. It's a pretty simple operation, and it's pretty magic that this little device like keeps your heart going. Honestly, but yes, he had no heart problems, and it was just like slowing down, and so he was at 4 beats a minute, which is when he went to the emergency room, and a healthy person is like 60 beats a minute. So
Mhm.
yeah, so pricing wise, it was a roughly $9,000 cash US, and that included the overnight in the hospital. That included the surgeon and the team. That included, the device itself. I mean, it was everything. And a friend of
So
mine in
it's,
the US.
I was expecting
Oh
bigger
yes,
price, telling the
a
truth, like
friend of mine in the US
hearing all
had her
those.
husband had one too, and he had insurance, and his copay in the US, or his deductible, I guess it was his copay, was $16,000
For
for the
similar
same
type of,
the same surgery.
even with copay and insurance. And what is your opinion now? I don't know if it makes sense, like for him to have insurance. I mean, probably it would be more expensive, but are you considering medical
Well, I
plan
I have
for yourself?
insurance now.
Hmm.
It's mostly catastrophic insurance, and they denied him because of the heart condition.
Yeah.
So we're still trying to figure out where he can get insurance.
And I know there are different insurance company, but obviously, like there is different acceptance criteria when person had such condition. But from other side, it's kind of a happy end story, because it was all quickly dealt with in professional way. And as far as I know, I'm not speaking about Canada. Even in United States, there are now waiting lists for some surgeries, for some procedures later. So it was, and how you feel comfortable with, medical treatments, and if you had maybe some others.
Yes, I mean he's had at least one root canal here. Fortunately, I haven't needed anything major since we've been here. I had a bunch of work done before we left the states, but yeah, we go to the dentist regularly here. Yeah, it's state of the art. It's just clean, and a lot of the doctors are educated in the U.S. and Canada, and then they come back, and I mean you know it's everything you want it to be.
And, and even care, I found they kind of more caring, like authentically caring about your well-being. They not like,
Yes,
robot machine, like quick, quick,
yeah,
quick, and they
you're not on
should,
the 7 minute
yeah.
insurance plan. They will actually talk to you, and they'll be with you for an hour and like ask you questions.
Yes, it's,
And if you happen to have old blood work, and because there are no HIPAA laws here, they'll if you go to have a blood work done in a lab, they'll send it to you on your phone. So now you've got it on your WhatsApp, your blood work that you can then show to a doctor you might go to in 6 months. Oh, hey, I have some blood work here. Do you want to look at? Yes, yes, I'll see it. And then like, as I went to this guy here, He's and he goes through everything. You feel like you're getting a chemistry lesson. I'm like, I didn't know I was signing up for a graduate level science class here. I mean, because he's going through everything. He's like, oh, and look at this. He's like, and why does this matter? And then he launches into another thing. But he's going through all the blood work. I mean, you would never get that in the U.S. No doctor's going through that with you.
Uh, uh, I hear you. Even in Canada, when we have kind of government, we have government medical system, but to get my own test results, it's kind of like in I'm asking for some military secrets or what no, I can see it, but it's not working this way. So it's interesting. So any other local services you had kind of experience coming along the
Hmm.
years?
I don't know. It's services in particular. Let's see. We
Okay, let's speak about if you have maybe
Oh, sure.
recommendation for some local restaurants, shops, or what I'm looking for services which are working for expats or maybe with expats. And what do I mean? I know that many expats open their own services like restaurants, yes, mostly open by people coming from different countries, but if there are some, expats oriented businesses now, oh, there are travel businesses, because I know there is big newspaper like Playa del Carmen, and there are some other media sources. What's going on lately in this regard
Oh,
in Playa?
I don't.
And if you can name places you
Yeah, I
like,
can. I
just
can certainly name
recommend.
some restaurants. Like one of our favorites is India Jones, which opened last winter, and it is run by an Indian couple who moved here. They were here. They were on their way to the U.S. and during the pandemic, they couldn't go to the U.S. straight from India, so they came here, fell in love, and now they've brought over 3 chefs from India and 2 tandoori ovens, which I think are like 400 kilos a piece. So like they're amazing restaurateurs, and their food's incredible. And so they just opened. One of our when we first moved to Playa, we met a guy named Juan who opened the Italian Tiki Hut, and it's now gone through a name change. Now it's the Lost Tiki. But Juan is comes out of corporate hospitality. He worked for like I think Hard Rock or I don't know. Anyway, for like big outfits, and he runs this fun little fusion like Asian Mexican kind of fusion place. And yeah, I mean there's so many good places to go. And you mentioned earlier places open and close a lot, which is true. Like, what is another favorite?
You have some art clubs, like you mentioned, meetups. I know there are some galleries. There are some not golf clubs. So there are golf clubs, but I mean, in
But I don't play
addition
golf,
to,
so
uh, yeah, I don't, but I've seen them. But some other activities, which yoga classes. I know a lot of Spanish language classes, and I believe now not only Spanish,
oh
kind of
yeah. I
international.
mean, because it's an
Yeah.
international town. Yeah, there's Spanish language classes. There's like a Spanish English meetup that happens every week where you go and practice your language. The idea is you be paired with someone else, and you practice for a few minutes, and then you change partners, and there's usually like a theme. Yeah, there's a trivia night every week. I mean, in the season that can almost have 200 people. I mean, that's very, very popular. There's lots of salsa dancing going on, salsa bachata, kazomba. If you're into the Latin dance scene, that's every night of the week. I mean, a lot of the stuff is found out through WhatsApp chats. Like you have to figure out how to get into the right WhatsApp chat, which you can go onto the expat pages and ask for like, does anyone know, And at one point, there was a master Google sheet of like 190 expat groups in Playa. And I don't know if that's still updated. I've actually never looked at it, but if that gives you indication,
You mean on WhatsApp only? Because on Facebook there are tons
I'm
of
talking
Playa groups. They kind of
WhatsApp only. I'm talking
multiplying.
about, so someone created a Google sheet of 190 different WhatsApp groups, Playa related. I mean,
So it's kind of community, but with different interest
Right.
groups inside. How it's in real life,
Yes,
actually.
it's and it's interesting because I see this trend happening across all of how we use the internet too. Is 15 years ago you had all these little splintered segments, and then it kind of went into a free for all, and now it's going back to these little segments. So yeah, it's really kind of fascinating to watch us go back to that. Newsletters are resurging in popularity. The WhatsApp chat I think is like a great you know because you might have 30 people or something in it, but it's super active, right? And some of them are huge. I mean, like I don't. There's a cutoff point for WhatsApp groups, like however many you can have in there. Sometimes they ask people to leave. If you're not active, you're no longer in playa. Please leave this group because we don't have enough room for new people. So, but
So how you comparing your social life intensity, I would say quality, back with what you had in
we hardly
US?
have social life in the U.S. I mean, everybody's so busy there,
Why?
and it was work. Everybody has work and kids. And where we lived in Pennsylvania, everybody also has like 100 family members, all live within a mile of one another. It seems. So we weren't from Pennsylvania, so we did not have, and we come from the South, so we actually had those kind of social groups at home, but we didn't live there anymore. So it's always your cousin or uncle's, birthday, and you got to be there on Saturday, and then on Sunday it's somebody else's birthday. So it was all very family. Everybody's doing all these family gatherings, and well, in Playa, everyone comes here without the family around. You don't have that connection, so you're making connections with people nearby, and you don't have you don't have as much of that. It's much easier to get together with people.
So in Playa, do you think people are more active because they actually don't have their like big families and old circle of friends, and but they're trying to
Yes,
connect and to create new life? Yes.
exactly. Because if you want to come here, you're eager to create a new life. And you have some vision of what that new life is going to be. And it's going to be different for everyone, but you have some vision of what that's going to be. And so then you come here and you want to meet other people, and you want to enact that vision. And so that's because you show up here, you don't know anyone, or maybe you know two people or something. You aren't like confined by whatever your old life was, because everything is new now. Everything. How do you get water delivered to your house? Where do you go to the supermarket? Everything is brand new. Do you have to pay for your rent in cash? That used to be a thing. Sometimes still is. I mean, like all kinds of things are new. And so you're just like on hyperdrive trying to figure it all out. And you're eager, and you get plugged into the expat community because these are your guides. These are the people who will help you figure out the answer to that next thing. So you see like somebody's posting a lunch get together somewhere. You're like, which you see sometimes in groups, hey, I'm new to town. I'd like to let's get together and have lunch at, whatever restaurant. And then 10 or 15 people will show up. Those are the people who are eager to meet you, or eager to like trade information. I mean, like that's how you meet people, is you have to show up and go to the things and ask questions and be. But every one of us has had someone who's given us some little tidbit of information. It's been super helpful.
It's what I like about expat communities. That's why I'm really kind of learning and trying to be involved. Obviously, it's hard to be a part of many different expat communities, and I'm not always in Mexico. But my question, listening to you, do you feel that you became different person, and after years living in Mexico, and that actually your experience brought you to the different level of understanding or personal growth as a result?
Yes, because I can go look back on this and go, wow, I've accomplished what I've wanted to do for decades. And that's sort of astonishing and gratifying. It's like I'm doing it. I'm living the life that I wanted to live. Like that's amazing.
So,
And it hasn't been easy, but I've done it, and now I'm like, okay, great. Now what? What's next? You know?
okay, so we're going to the next, and I believe maybe last question. I don't see any question in the chat, so I can enjoy speaking with you, and with all this enriching experience, and I believe really active life in many regards, like professional life, personal life, social life, traveling, and actually opportunities to travel. Mexico is a huge country. You still can go back home. but you feel your home now in Playa del Carmen, what you would recommend to new expats or people considering to be on this, life-changing, really drastic life-changing
Mhm.
events? And I'm more concerned about people after 50 because, it's really hard to uproot yourself in this age range, specifically when you have family like back home or you still have home in US and Canada. So what you would recommend, just like honestly, good sides, maybe mentioning
Mhm.
something to be prepared for, some, I would say, downfalls, which is part of the journey.
Yes, I'd say don't expect it to be like the place you left.
Yeah, first
Because
of all.
people do that,
Yeah,
and it's wild to see that. People come and then they complain about how it's not like it was back home. Well, then go back home if that's what you want. Because people also create fantasies in their heads
absolutely.
and don't take to experience what it's really going to be like. And I think the people who do best moving abroad or moving to a new place, it doesn't even have to be outside your country, are the people who are willing to take the new and accept things and just sort of go, okay, this is going to be different. You take the expectation, it's going to be different. And then you can decide, if that difference is going to work for you or not. But if you kind of go into it with an open mind and a sense of adventure, I think that's the most important thing, is come with a sense of adventure,
Yes,
because it's going to be different than you think. No, I don't care how much time you spend here. Living here full time is a very different matter. So here or anywhere, but like, I mean, because when people come on vacation, we have a good friend who does this, they come on vacation a lot and they've been coming here for 20 years. But then when COVID hit, they stayed. And then that was like a whole different life. I mean, obviously it was COVID, it was,
absolutely.
lockdown. Everybody had that. But as things came out of that, it was just like, and then when they come back, they're like, oh, people, like you go to things you have. I'm like, yeah, this is what it's like. Like, I mean, you knew it was during these tiny little, a few months, but it's really, no, this is a vibrant place. And, but it's nothing like where you left,
It's what I
wherever
say. First of
you
all,
are.
don't confuse vacations with relocation. And
Exactly.
secondly, it's not for everyone, and you need to be of certain adventure spirit. But with all this, you need to be prepared, and it's very hard because you don't know what you don't know. It's one of the reasons why actually I set up my business, and I am offering my consultation and soon to be small courses to prepare people, to give them
Hmm.
a glimpse of new life, and at the same time, some mental preparation should start even before you going to the new place, because it's what I found. People have unrealistic expectations
Hmm.
and they disappointed after then, or they really heartbroken, and sometimes maybe because they selected place which is not going together with their personality, or they would be benefit
Exactly.
from other type of place, and Mexico is offering many different lifestyles for different budget, for different type of people. So there are many different components, even in our personality and preparation, which
Hmm.
will define our success and actually enjoyment of life after relocation, because we all moving to
Absolutely.
enjoy our life. And in your case, it's really worked beautifully, and I feel your smile. I didn't know you before, but probably you were always optimistic person, but you say that it's your home and it's very important.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I love it here, and I do see that. I encourage everyone who wants thinking about moving abroad to make a list of what they want their lives to be like, and seek the match for them in that way.
Yeah, but sometimes people, specifically if they don't have a long experience traveling,
Yes.
or living in other cultural place, because even moving from state to state in United States or Canada, it's different, but it's the same
Mhm.
country, mostly the same language, the same type of economical relationship and system. Here you have kind of in one glass all new different things. But with all this, as far as I know, feel, and can assure, Mexico is the most close to us. I mean, Americans and Canadians culturally.
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
in regards to shops we used to have, business culture slowly, because there are many Americans and Canadians are working now and kind of influence the business culture in Mexico as well. And a lot of Mexicans learn or working up north. So Mexico is North America. It's part of our continent.
Mhm.
And I think together we mingle pretty good.
Oh, we do. Yes. And you don't realize until you get here how fluid the borders are.
Yes. And I believe it was very exciting and interesting for me conversation. And thank you for sharing with us your story, your personal perspective. And I wish you the best. Enjoy your life, professional success, continue to explore Mexico and maybe other country. And okay, I would like to add, and it's important to know for everyone, if you're planning to live for a long time in any country, and specifically in Mexico, you need to have residency. You need to start with
Mhm.
residency, so you feel really as local, and you became part of society, which is
Right.
important as well. Thank you very much. Very grateful,
Thank you.
and see you soon in real
Okay.
life.
All righty.